van has arrived. Small problem though, this warehouse that I'm working in, the people that own it want to use it. Bloody inconvenient. So we're going to go and drill some holes first. Always fun. So let me just show you what I've got. So in here, for the first time, and almost certainly the last time, we've got a long pipe in fanny. Anyway, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to test that out. I'm going to run my lines before I fit it, just to make sure I'm going to get the heat dispersion that I want. Heat dispersion, we'll go with that. Yeah, and just see how it goes, and then work out exactly how I'm going to get it down to the back of the van. So, but I need to move out of here, so we're going to go back up to the house now that I've dropped the flooring off and do a few tests.
2 hours later.
Where to start? Okay, let me put you down. Okay, so I am going to level with you. This has probably been the most stressed I've ever been. At any point, breakdowns, build, living with Emily, at any point during this van, having this van, ever. So the problem I've got is I think I've stretched myself too thin, and I'm probably putting a bit too much pressure on myself because I'm trying to make a good video and I'm running out of time. The warehouse that I'm doing the work in to keep me out of the horrendous weather that we're experiencing in the UK at the minute is not always available, so I only have limited time in there, and I want to work in the dry, especially with like doing the floor and whatnot, and I can't get in there, so then I'm rushing, and then I'm trying to make good, fun, interesting videos out of, you know, some stuff that isn't always that interesting, and I can't do both. The van is in a state of stressing me out. Let me show you why. So this is my diesel heater, and I've just run a heating test. So before we only had the one outlet coming out here, it worked a treat, but I want to heat in the back. So I've run this huge long piece of pipe. Thanks, John, for the use of your pipe, or giving me the pipe actually. And that is way longer of a run and far more bends than it's going to do, and it works better than I thought. So the air that comes out of this duct, this piece of pipe's like 6.5, 7 meters long, something like that. The air that comes out of there isn't red hot. In fact, it's just about lukewarm, which is exactly what I want, because I don't want the rear of the van to get roasting hot. I just want it to be warmed up a little bit and to help circulate the air to prevent the condensation. So that's spot on, but it means I've got to run it. Oh God, right. Now, before I show you where I'm going to run it, don't freak out. I'll explain why it's such a mess in a minute, but yeah, you need to see it. You need the truth. So I need to come through the side of that cupboard. That's not a problem, that's fine. And then through this cupboard, which I've bodged and put a couple of extra shelves in so it looks a mess. So the best route would be underneath, so it's the same level. But then we get to here and we start to hit problems. So that's I've got electrical cables for my DC to DC charger, the diesel heater, and a few other bits and pieces. So they're in the way there. I've then got the gas manifold here, the water inlet here, and the water filter there. I can't go up too high because I'll get too close to the oven, and I think that it'll end up getting too hot because my oven sits here. But I can come through there, that's not a problem. Then we get into here. So when I come through this cupboard, I've got to avoid all the plumbing. The pipe's 60mm thick, so it's quite a chunky pipe. So, chunky pipe. So yeah, if I run it along the floor, she's going to lose storage space for where she puts things, and I can't go up too high because I hit the sink, and then don't ask me why my internet router's there, that's just where it ended up. So yeah, but even then I can get through there, that's not a problem. Now, the next cupboard and the next section is the problem, and some of you are going to be annoyed at me, but the truth of it is, well, just have a look. Look at that hot mess of cables in there. So I'd have to come through here, somewhere in the side of the cupboard, cross through here, and then from there I'd need to come up and then through into here, where again, I don't know if you can really see because the bed's in the way, there's just a whole mess of other cables. And then eventually I'd run out here into the back somewhere. And of course I've got everywhere on the floor. Ah, fucking stupid. Right. So as you can see, it's a bit of a mess. Now, the reason being is because when I built the van, I started off with a very simple 12-volt setup, limited cabling, didn't have much going on, simple plumbing. I've only got a cold water feed to the sink, so it's dead simple. But as the years have gone on with this van, the couple of years we've had it, we've added pieces and changed pieces, and other people have done bits, and it's all in the most ridiculous of places to be able to get to work on. So it's kind of just been well, I just shoved that there because I want to get it done. And I think my little OCD brain, it needs to be rectified. I need to sort it out. And the problem is, that's going to take a hell of a lot of time. And my other OCD brain that wants to make you a nice video wants to spend loads of time getting fancy B-roll. And for this video, I'm going to have to let one go. And in the long run, it's going to be better that I do a decent job of the van rather than a decent job of the video. So this is probably about as raw as it's going to get, folks. I'm just going to crack on. I'll film what I can. But yeah, I need to rectify this situation. I think we're going to take the bed apart. I don't want to move the kitchen. I don't want to take the kitchen out to run this bloody pipe to the back. So I'm going to have to see. I'm going to have to get the boss in and see what she says about where it can go. Because if I nick too much of her storage and there's less space for snacks, oh, I'm going to be in trouble. Oh dear. So apparently Emily is otherwise engaged.
So while Louise is having a little mini meltdown, I think it's only fair that I go out and have my hair done. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do this afternoon.
There's a critical appointment that she absolutely has to get to, so she can't come and look at where I'm going to run that pipe. So I'm going to put that to the back of my mind for a second. And I'm going to start labelling up all these cables so that I can rip it all apart and then rerun it much neater, because at the minute all I've got is my very now out of date one copy of my paper diagram from when I first did the install. So yeah, labelling it is.
Meanwhile.
Okay, so labelling is well underway. I've disconnected a fair bit as well, so I'll just quickly show you where I'm at. There's a whole bunch of crap there that I've removed that I don't need. Haven't even touched in there yet, but everything that's come off the battery is now labelled up and disconnected. So I'm going to run, well, I'll show you. So previously I had all my positives just hooked up to the battery terminals. On the negative side it's a bit different. I've got everything on a bus bar because it goes straight from there to a shunt. But for all my positives now, I'm going to run a positive bus bar, so everything will go to here and then off to the battery. So yeah, I'm going to have to cut a lot of these cables down, change them, change the length, so just so that it's a bit tidier. And it also means that instead of having to, because if you can imagine, normally there's a bed here, so I have to climb in from the back doors and sort of squeeze down there if ever I want to disconnect just one thing. So this is going to be much easier to locate something and get to if I need to change one thing, and it's going to be neater. And I'm going to try and, I can't move the 240 volt stuff, but I'm going to try and move the MPPT and this bus bar around here. Because some of you remember I used to have 3 batteries in here. I had 3 AGMs, but I've swapped them out to the EP03 lithiums, which are working a treat, but it means I've got all this space. So if I can move this round into here, then I'll regain this little section here, which will put me in the good books with the wife because she'll have a little bit more storage. But we have a new problem. Holy crap. Jesus. So we are right in the middle of Storm Eunice. And let me show you. So this tree is coming down in pieces, and the van's there, so it's looking very precarious as to how safe my windscreen's going to be. Problem number 2, this is my fence, and you can't really see it on camera, but at an half going, so I'm going to have to down tools for a minute. Crapping hell, look. All my bloody plastic baggings come out of the van. Whew. Yeah, I'm gonna have to down tools for a minute. And I don't know, have a tidy up so I can move the van or try and sort that tree out and then secure my fences a little bit. So yeah, that's gonna have to stay there. And I'm gonna go and play in the wind.
2 days later.
Oh, why the f did I start this job? Oh, I swear to God, if I have to climb over this flipping drawers. One more time. Ow, ow, ow. Pretty sure I've got my head stuck in the cupboard. Gotcha, you little bugger. So Some twat's built a cupboard right above my head. Dickhead. Oh, gotta climb over the flipping. Hang on, if I open that one. Oh, pair of socks, always handy. God knows how long they've been in there. Yeah, if I open the drawer. Ah, my genius knows no bounds. Shame I'm nearly finished. Look at that. Clear path. Oh. Where's my bit of wire? Where's my wire? Ah, it's on the other side. Back we go. Oh, yes. I am done. So it's been quite some time since I spoke to you last. It's like a day and a half, 2 days later, a day. I don't know what that is. In fact, most of the time, I don't even know what year it is. As most of you kindly point out, I seem to be stuck in like 2020. And of all the years, I don't know why I've got stuck in that one, but never mind. So yeah, I'm pretty much done. It looks exactly the same as when it did when I first started, but I'll show you in a minute. But first, I need some lunch. Oh, I've got to climb these drawers again. Oi. Right. Over we come. Move you out the way. This is why I didn't film much. Pain in the arse. Stupid bloody job this is. Ah, hungry. Mad skills. So yes, you've guessed it. I'm having Y Foods for my lunch. They've come to my rescue again, and they happen to be the sponsor of this week's video. Do the hippie hippie shake. Now, if you haven't heard of Y Foods before, then where the hell have you been not watching this channel? But basically they are a meal that is a drink. So it's a full meal replacement, not a protein shake or anything like that. 500 calorie meal in a drink. Now they do come in a bottle. We normally buy them in a big bag of powder, and then that way when you're travelling in the van, you've always got an easy, quick grab meal that you can just get that's really, really healthy for you. They are lactose free, gluten free. This one is vegan. They do a whole vegan range, which is a massive plus for us with Emily being a vegetarian. And the best thing about them is they taste really, really good. So I'm a huge fan of the fruity flavours, the raspberry and the banana. No surprises, Emily loves the chocolate flavour. If you want to give Y Foods a go for yourself, we have got you a 10% discount code, which will be on the screen now. So if you use that code at checkout, you get yourself 10% off. I highly recommend giving one of their taster packs a go, see what they're all about. Loads of different flavours for you to choose. And then, like I say, we have the big bags because the shelf life is great and we can carry them in the van, and we know we've always got something healthy if we don't want to move on from the spot or anything like that. Or like now, when I don't have time to prepare a proper healthy lunch. So yeah, check them out. Okay then, so first things first. It has been 2 hellish days, or a day and a half, of literally calling in the cupboard, calling out the cupboard, wiring, cutting, rewiring. I've uprated some of the cables, I've changed the length of most of the cables. So cutting cables, new lugs on, heat shrinking, fitting, rewiring, cable management, if you can call it cable management, you'll see in a sec, I'll show you. And I've upgraded the system a little bit, put a couple of things in that we didn't have before. So for those of you that are interested in the electrical side of things, I'll just give you a quick run through and show you where we're at. I'm not refilming that because I said run through wrong, it's just run through. You have to live with it, sorry. So we've had a bit of a tidy up under there. I know it still looks a bit of a mess, a bit of a bird's nest in the middle still, but at least now all the cables are at the back and not sitting on the floor, except for the one for the control panel for the diesel heater, but I'm going to move that when I move, because I'm going to move the switch for that, so that'll be moved as well. So at least the floor is clear, so I haven't got to worry about chucking things in and out and, you know, ripping out some cables as you get things out of the cupboard. And then I might just put a board over the back of that just to block it off altogether. And it took best part of a day just to pull all those cables out. I had to disconnect everything from our switch panel up here, disconnected it all from there, pulled it all back through, all the way back to the fuse box, labelled it all up, and then run it all back through so that it's in like nice straight runs. So if I need to pull a cable out, it's much easier and it's tidier. But yeah, sod of a job. Hope it was worth it. Right, and then back here, so it still looks a bit of a mess, but I've now got all my positives on the positive shunt all labelled up so we know what they do. So although it does look untidy, each cable's got its own run, so it's better than it was where it was all sort of entwined and crossed over, but that's about as neat as I can get it. I think it's because I'm coming up and over and there's just, oh, there's fucking shit everywhere, but yeah, at least they're all on there and they're accessible now, so I can come in from the back, leave the bed in. If I just want to say I want to work on, disconnect the Sterling for whatever reason, or the fuse box, I need to work on a fuse box, I can just disconnect that quite easily without having to pull it off of like one massive stack on the main battery. So I've added a circuit breaker. So I've got one cable that comes off the battery. So I've got a battery link cable over here. That's my BMV. I don't know whether I should move that to there or not. But yeah, just the one cable that runs through this breaker first, so that if I want to shut down the entire system, I can. Whereas before, I only had this little isolator switch, which just isolates this fuse box. that original setup worked quite well in the begin with, because nearly everything just run off the fuse box, so it almost was a main isolator except for the fridge. I think I had the fridge on the battery, but as we've added diesel heater and now the inverter and all different things, that battery was stacking up with extra things on. So yeah, now I've got a main isolator for the whole system, which means I've also installed this. So here, and I've wired it the wrong way around, so red is on and green is off, but that'll be fine. That's just the twin pole isolator for my solar, so that runs up to the panels on the roof so that I can just literally switch off the panels so that I can then work on the MPPT if I needed to. So in theory, you're supposed to disconnect the panels from the MPPT before you disconnect the MPPT from the battery, and then if you reconnect, you do it in reverse order, which meant yesterday, in a storm, I had to climb up on the roof to disconnect the MC4 cable connectors before I could disconnect the rest of it, which was a bit of a nightmare, and it obviously left them exposed. So now, if for any reason I want to shut down the system or work on the solar, I can switch them off and then shut down the system. So yeah, just another method. I would have liked the switch further over here, but this is just where it fits, isn't it? And then finally, we've added a 375 watt inverter. I don't need a big one, and I'm going to be running it via this switch, which obviously I'll need to put a longer cable on. What it is, you turn the inverter on here, plug your appliance in here. So unless this is sited in the main cab of the van where I can get to it, you need to turn it on and off all the time. So with the switch, I can now, so I leave it on, and then if I switch it, give it a second, the inverter comes on. So my plug socket, which I will have down the end of the van, will come on with that switch, which I'll probably place up here somewhere. I'm also going to be rejigging this whole switch panel. The 240 volt socket has gone. I've removed that altogether for the time being. So the way I figure it is we hardly ever use that 240 switch. The only time we use that is if we're struggling for power and we've had to go to a campsite so that we can edit videos. But now I've got the inverter, if we're on a campsite, I'll plug the van in. The mains charger, the Victron mains charger, will be charging the battery, so I could just use the switch, the plug on the inverter. So I've left the cable in, so the cables, I've disconnected it, but it's hanging up there ready, so that if I want to rerun it for any reason, I can add it back in. But to be honest, it's just taking up wall space that we don't need. So yeah, that's gone for now, but I'll keep you posted if it goes back in. So I think that's pretty much it. So I've had a complete rejig of the stuff. So I have now got, so if you can imagine, when the bed's back on, I'll board this, this will be cupboarded off, so that's all just that, nothing ever goes on that, so that's left to itself. And then this section here, which doesn't look that big on camera, that will actually give us quite a bit of storage space we can access from the back doors to keep things in. So she is going to be very happy with that. What she is not going to be happy with though is the carnage that is ensued in the van. Let me show you the mess. So we have got crap all over the bed. We've got crap tools, bits and pieces, fittings, all sorts under the bed, stickers in the drawer. Then down there we've got a load more tools, tripods, tools up on there, all kinds of crap piled up on here. So I think the next job is a mass clean up, and then I can start thinking about that pipe, or because I've just had a sort of a job doing this, I might leave that pipe and set myself up, so start the floor prep, ready to lay the floor. But that's going to be a job for tomorrow because I stayed up stupidly late last night watching the curling. So go on the girls that won the curling. Yeah, but I'm just gonna leave this as it is and get an early night, I think. No, I'll tidy up and then I'll get an early night, and I'll see you tomorrow. I'm sorry this video has not been amazing. There's not loads of detailed content or fun or anything good, because it's been shit, if I'm honest with you. But I showed Emily what I filmed the other day with me having my little like semi-rant whinging on about how crap it is, and I was just going to sack it all off and just do a video and say, oh, I've done this to the electrics, and then carry on. But Emily said I should leave it in there because you watch these van build videos and we get told it all the time. People say to us, oh, you make it look really easy, it took us months, it was a nightmare, I couldn't figure it out. So I'm going to put it out, I think, because this is what van builds really are. They're stressful, they're time consuming. You can guarantee whatever you think. I thought this would take an afternoon just to tidy up the cables. Nope, 2 days. 2 days of this I've had. So yeah, whatever time you allow to do a job, triple it. Same with the cost. Whatever you think it's going to cost, triple it. Because with this, I had to wait for some parts to be delivered from Amazon, the switch and whatnot. So yeah, it all just adds time on. So I'm doing my best to make you a decent video, but reality is van builds are tough. They're tedious in times, and they are an absolute stressful bloody nightmare, but 100% worth it when they're done. But yeah, early night. Anyway, I'm waffling again. No one needs this amount of waffle. If you're new around here and you've stuck around for the majority of this video, then well done. But normally they're a bit better than this. But like I say, this is my life this week, so there you go. Right. Left me a bloody uke in the van, didn't I? So all that sanding and rubbing down and dust and mess. It's all inside there, but I think it's okay. Sounds alright. I think it sounds alright. Can you hear that wind? It is still windy. Let's move you inside. It might be quieter inside. Well, at least we clarified now it is not just for decoration. I do play it occasionally. And also, you see that in the shot? You'd thought with all that cabling I might have wired in this light. I did not. Never mind, there is always a spot open for me in the Campervan doghouse. I'm sure I will be in it. I will do this light eventually. Eventually it'll get done. Sometime. Anyway, before I go on, I just want to say I am not a qualified electrician, so please don't take anything that I've done with the electrics back there as gospel. It's just the way I've wired it. Also, through the 2 van builds that I've done now, I know there are stacks of opinions on the correct way to do electrics, the incorrect way to do electrics, and I've spent far too many months, years probably, of my time researching it. That's the way I'm happy with it. I prefer to have all my positives in one end, all my negatives out the other end, have the 2 batteries as like one big battery bank, if that makes sense, and then flow it through that way. I know there's lots of opinions, that's just mine. You know, it's up to you how you do yours, but yeah, you can bombard me in the comments if you so feel like it, but don't expect me to necessarily go into too much detail with you all, because it just opens a can of worms that I do not have time to deal with at the minute. But on the plus side, I know this video has probably not been my most positive. However, a few positives to take from it. Now, there's a job done that's needed doing for such a long time, and I do feel a whole lot better that now I've got that cut-off switch in there, the inverter's in, so I can use the excess power we generate when we're driving to charge up some of our things that only run on 240 volt, especially like the Jackery and stuff, because I think I've mentioned it before, normally we charge it up from 12 volt, charging it up from 240 when we're driving is just going to charge it up quicker, and we produce so much excess energy when we're driving sometimes it seems silly not to capitalise on that. So that's what the inverter's for. I wouldn't necessarily have a big inverter here and try and run loads of stuff off it, but again, difference of opinion, that's just mine. I try to keep as much of it 12 volt as I can, but there is the odd thing that we can't run on 12 volts, so that's what that's for. And you'll notice I'm rushing when I talk. I know I talk fast anyway, but I'm talking particularly fast because I got my mojo back, so I want to crack on and I want to start the floor, but I'm going to end this video here. And I know I've said in the video, and you're going to shout at me and say, oh Lou, don't worry about the content, we just appreciate the content. I'm just worried I don't want to be one of those channels that puts out content for content's sake. So I want all of our videos to either have value or be entertaining. And although this video probably isn't the most entertaining, I hope that it's given some of you that are doing a build an understanding that every job's like that. There's always something that gets in the way, there's always something that needs doing, there's always something you need to order that takes ages to come, and currently I think because of COVID and Brexit everything's taking ages, and you'll get to a point where you can't carry on until you've got that part. So I think our videos for the next few weeks while I'm doing the van are going to be a bit, I don't know what days they're going to come, so if you ding the bell, if you're subscribed and you've dinged the bell, then you should get a notification, but they could be any day of the week, any intervals in between, they will come when they come. So I hope, you know, you're happy with that, but well, it's tough if you're not, because it's all I've got for you really. So yeah, next week starting the floor, well today for me, but for next week's video I'm going to be starting the floor, and I will deal with what I'm going to do with that heating pipe. I've had a couple of other ideas about using my diesel heater to heat my outside tank, so I'm still very much in the thought process of that. But again, a lot of your time van building will be spent probably sitting in your empty van or part converted van like this, just pretty much spending hours and hours and thinking, back onto YouTube, bit more research, bit more thinking, and by the end of a 10-hour day in the van you've done about 2 hours work. But that's my van build confession, if you will. This van was not easy to build. There is a lot of time that is spent banging your head in cupboards, climbing around in cupboards, wiring, rewiring, doing it again, YouTubing, blah blah blah. So yeah, you get my point. It's a pain in the ass. So that is it then for this week. I'm sure you've had enough of my waffle by now. Emily, I know it's lacking Emily. She's been working a bit extra this week, so she's trying to catch up, ready for when we do hit the road. So she's been in the office and she's quite busy with that. It's not all been pampering herself in the hairdresser salon thingy. So she will be back hopefully next week when we put the floor in. And yeah, that is about it. I did put a community post out. Someone said that if you was worried that the video is not going to be that entertaining, then I could just take my hat off and we'll all have a laugh. So that is what I'm going to do right now, and I will see you guys next week.